I was loading the dishwasher when Daniel asked if I wanted tea. He said it the way he always did. Like it mattered. He moved around our kitchen in socks, careful not to wake the dog. He hummed without realizing it. He kissed my shoulder as he passed. "Long day?" he asked. I nodded, because it had been. Nothing dramatic. Just normal wait. He poured the water, set 2 mugs on the counter, and listened to me talk about a form I had to sign for work. Not the story. The form. Daniel was like that. He cared about the small things because he believed the small things kept you safe. The next morning, I went to the county building to update our property tax mailing address. We hadn't moved. We'd just stopped receiving the notices. It was a reasonable errand. 10 minutes in, 10 minutes out. A window, a clerk, a stamp. The lobby smelled like air conditioning and old paper. Everyone stood in straight lines and spoke softly. It felt like church without the religion. When it was my turn, I slid my driver's license under the glass and said, "I need to confirm our mailing address for the property account." The clerk smiled automatically. Then her eyes moved to the screen. The smile didn't disappear. It just stopped advancing. "One moment," she said. Her voice was gentle. She typed slowly, as if speed could be interpreted as emotion. I watched her face for cues, but she didn't give any. She turned her monitor a fraction away from me, not to hide it, just because that's what you do. "This is for the property at 417 Hawthorne," I added, like extra clarity could help. She nodded once. Then she asked, "Do you have your husband's ID as well?" I blinked. "Why would you need Daniel's ID for a mailing address?" Her eyes stayed warm. Her tone stayed neutral. "It's just a verification requirement," she said. Verification requirement. It sounded like weather. "I don't have it," I said. "He's at work." "That's fine," she said. "We can use an alternative." "Do you have a copy of your marriage certificate?" It took effort not to laugh. Not because it was funny. Because it was absurd in a polite way that makes you wonder if you missed something obvious. "No," I said. "I just need the tax notices to go to the right mailbox." She nodded again, understanding me, and not changing anything. "Okay," she said. "Then I'll have to ask you to complete a confirmation statement." She printed 2 pages and slid them under the glass. The paper was warm. The header said, "Affidavit of Occupancy." That wasn't what I was there for. But it was close enough to feel normal if you didn't think about it. There was a line that asked if I lived at the property. Another line that asked if Daniel lived at the property. Then a third line that asked if I had personal knowledge of subject's routine residence. Subject. I read it twice. "This is standard," the clerk said, still calm, still kind. "It's just because the account has a flag." "A flag?" "It's probably nothing," she said. "It just means we can't edit anything without additional verification." I signed, because people sign. Because refusing makes you look complicated. Because I had a lunch break and a calendar and a life that didn't include arguing through glass. When I handed the pages back, she didn't stamp them right away. She placed them beside her keyboard and said, "One moment, again." A supervisor appeared behind her without urgency. He didn't wear a badge, just a lanyard. He glanced at the screen and didn't ask me anything. He leaned down and spoke quietly into her ear. She nodded once, like receiving a route. Then she looked back at me and said, "We can't process this today." "Why?" "The account is under review," she said. "You'll receive instructions by mail." "Mail to which address?" I asked before I could stop myself. Her pause was small. "The address on file," she said. I left with my errand unfinished and my signature on an affidavit I didn't understand. That night, Daniel noticed the tension before I spoke. He always did. What happened? He asked, sitting across from me at the table. His hands were open. His eyes were honest. I told him about the forms and the flag and the clerk's tone that never changed. I made it sound smaller than it felt. Daniel listened without interrupting. Then he reached for my hand. "It's paperwork," he said softly. "We'll fix it." He smiled, and his face did exactly what it always did in moments like that. He looked like a man who believed the right phone call could restore order. I believed it too. Until I saw the envelope on our counter the next morning. County letterhead. My name on the front. And, beneath it, in smaller type, a line I couldn't explain. Do not inform subject. They informed me that my access had been temporarily restricted. No explanation. No accusation. Just a calm sentence at the top of an email. Account status. Limited. Pending review. I read it twice before I told him. He was making coffee. He listened. He nodded. He kissed my forehead and said we would fix it. I called the number in the email. After the menus, a woman answered. Polite. Unhurried. She asked me to confirm my identity. I did. She thanked me. She placed me on hold. When she returned, her tone had not changed. She explained that my account was linked to an active investigation. She said the phrase as if it were routine. As if it were weather. I asked what kind of investigation. She said she was not authorized to discuss details. She said the review was procedural. She said my cooperation was appreciated. My debit card stopped working that afternoon. At the grocery store. I apologized to the cashier. She smiled and waved me aside. No one complained. At home, I logged into our shared account. The password had been reset. A notification explained this was for security reasons. I called again. This time, a man answered. He asked me to verify my address. Then my husband's. Then our anniversary date. He paused. Not long. Just long enough to feel deliberate. He told me that due to the nature of the review, my access would remain restricted. He told me my husband's access would not be affected. He told me this was standard. That night, my husband held me while I cried. He told me I was safe. He told me he loved me. He told me the truth always comes out. The next morning, 2 officers knocked on our door. They were polite. They asked if I would come with them to clarify a few things. My husband offered to come too. They said it wouldn't be necessary. At the station, they sat me in a small room. They brought me water. They asked me if I knew why I was there. I said no. They slid a folder across the table. Inside were timelines. Addresses. Dates. My husband's name appeared repeatedly. So did mine. They explained that several crimes had been linked through financial records. Shared accounts. Shared addresses. Spousal proximity. I was not a suspect. I was a verified associate. They said the system requires classification. They said relationships are data points. They said my cooperation was noted. I told them there had to be a mistake. I told them who he was. How he cried at funerals. How he volunteered. How he held my hand when I was afraid. They listened. They nodded. They did not interrupt. One of them turned the folder. There were transcripts. Recorded calls. Administrative notes. My husband's voice. Calm. Courteous. Compliant. They said he had already provided a statement. They said he had been very helpful. I was released an hour later. No charges. No instructions. Just a reminder that my movements might be monitored. At home, my husband was waiting. He hugged me. He asked if I was okay. I said yes. That evening, I found the last document. It had been uploaded automatically to our shared drive. A classification form. Status. Witness spouse. Access level. Restricted. Primary subject. Verified. I closed the laptop. I sat beside him on the couch. He rested his head on my shoulder. He asked if I trusted him. I remembered the opening line of the email. The calm certainty of it. The way it assumed the outcome. I said nothing. Because the truth had never been hidden. I was simply the last file to be opened.